So this week I want to tackle my electrical panel. So this is mounted on a 4x8 sheet of 3/4 inch plywood that's painted with primer. And this is a 42 slot QO 200 amp panel. And the thing is that with all these wires, it completely fills this panel. So the plan is to put this sub panel next to it and then hook up all my circuit lighting and receptacle circuits into this, so I don't have to fill up this panel completely, and I'll have some extra slots for things in the future like solar and who knows what else I'm going to need. And then, so this is where the feeder line comes in through a 3-inch conduit. It'll come down, narrow down through that nipple, and come here and get hooked into here. So this is a 200 amp sub panel that's fed from the main panel at the existing house, which is 250 feet away. And that requires 250 kcmil copper wires to feed that for that distance. And that's probably about $10,000 worth of copper for that. But yeah, then once that gets in, then that'll be all the power for the house. Don't have to worry about gas. Oh, the plan is to build a box, a 2x4 box around this panel and up to the ceiling, and then run the wires in that box and feed them into the side of this panel instead of trying to feed everything through the top of this panel. So it's easier to organize and keep clean. And then I'll put that sub panel off to the side. So previously I had pointed out that I was going to use an 8-slot panel for my sub panel for my lighting and receptacles. But that's the 8-slot panel there. When I opened it, I realized, oh no, it's not plug-on neutral. And I really wanted plug-on neutral because I had already bought plug-on neutral circuit breakers. So I went back and got a 12-slot panel with plug-on neutral, and that was actually cheaper, like $15 cheaper for the 12-slot than the 8-slot. I don't know. I don't understand electrical pricing whatsoever. So this is the 12-slot, and luckily I had miscounted some things and I really needed 12 slots. Actually, I'm going to put 11 circuits into this. So I'll have one slot empty here, and then that will free up a bunch of slots in the main panel. And I'm going to run this with a 100 amp breaker. So I think that should be fine. We'll see if I blow any circuits, but this is just a lot of wiring for light and receptacles that just doesn't need a lot of current. So it should be okay. So here's where I'm at with my electrical panel at this point. I have, I don't know, 90% of it wired up. So a lot of these wires are way too long for the panel, and instead of cutting them off, I just stuff them up into the ceiling. So if I ever need extra wire later, it's there. This 10 gauge circuit is just an extra circuit that It's a 10-3 circuit, so it supports 240 volts, and it runs out to underneath the deck in case I need a 240 volt under the deck, or maybe if I need that circuit for running to the septic system, just kind of just in case. Also, I'm missing some circuit breakers because I had to special order them. So this is a plug-on neutral panel, and this metal strip here is neutral. So for AFCI, GFCI, and dual breakers, you don't need a pigtail like, it's hard to see in here, but I have some pigtail breakers in here where there's a neutral pigtail that has to get hooked up to the neutral bar. And so I ordered plug-on neutral breakers because they're nice to have because you don't have the extra pigtail wiring. Let's see. So I'm not sure I want to get into AFCI, GFCI, but I'll just say, so this sub panel, I'm gonna run it with a 100 amp breaker, and so I have this 1 gauge wire to run from a 100 amp breaker to the sub panel, and I haven't wired that in yet, but so this breaker is my AFCI, or this panel is my AFCI sub panel, which has all my general purpose wall receptacles, 3 lighting circuits, and the smoke alarm circuit. And they're all AFCI. And so my local building supply store had these non-pigtail breakers for like $1 each, because I thought they were trying to get rid of them because it's a pain to carry both pigtail and non-pigtail breakers when you only really need one, because the pigtail breakers work in either pigtail or non-pigtail, or plug-on neutral or non-plug-on neutral panels. But what I found out is about half of those breakers were returned for being defective. So I only had one 15 amp for my lighting circuit, which actually seems to work. I had 3 15 amp AFCI breakers that just, you couldn't drive anything with them. But, so this 15 amp AFCI breaker is driving all of my lighting circuits, and it works fine for all of my lighting circuits except for the sewing room. When I turn on the sewing room light, that happens. So I think the sewing room light is a 3-way light, and it probably has something going on with the wiring, which I need to investigate. Okay, onto this panel. So I put it in a box so I could keep the majority of the wiring on the outside of the box, and the inside of the box is a lot cleaner. Right now, it's just being driven off 120 volt, 20 amp circuit from the workshop on an extension cord. So I just have one phase running, and I'm not powering anything right now. I don't know, that's about it. I guess, I'm making progress getting there. I also have to, I have a surge suppressor that I need to hook up, and it just hooks into a 20 amp breaker here. And I have to figure out, I haven't figured out quite how I'm gonna mount it, because I want to have it visible outside the box. but we'll see what happens there.